Hello, everybody. Welcome to this special episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
And I'm Ben. Happy birthday, Bob! Woo!
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
You know what's really... This is so much funnier in context. We're recording this way before my birthday.
Oh, no, yeah, it's like...
It's like 2 weeks
2
or
weeks
something.
out.
Yeah, it's so entertaining for you to tell me happy birthday before my birthday.
Well, you're getting it now and you won't get it later.
I know.
I'm saying a now and later.
Those suck. I'd rather just have a Starburst.
Or a Haichu.
Haichus are so good.
The best version of
They are the best version of those. Anyway, what are we doing today, Ben?
Well, you tell me for once.
Oh, shit. It's my job now?
Yeah.
This is a
What are we
fucking...
watching? It was your choice.
How the turntables have turned, or whatever the saying is.
Like a DJ.
No.
Wiki.
Ben, what would your DJ name be? I don't
Um,
have one for you, so I just thought I'd ask. You were the one making the DJ joke.
I don't know.
What's a good DJ name?
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
That's an awful DJ name. I will admit. I don't appreciate that one. It's a stupid name. I mean, maybe he'll come for the podcast. But I don't care.
Pitbull.
Pitbull. Is Pitbull a DJ? I thought he was like a singer.
Mr. Worldwide.
I mean, if your discs look like globes, that's not bad. You could like rap about geography or something, or like play music. I don't know. Whatever DJs do. Don't ask me. Anyway, we're watching a movie, which is like normal for this podcast. That's what we do here. We're watching a horror movie, and because it's my birthday, I got to choose the movie for once. This never happens. This is the first time in the history of the show that I get to choose a movie, and I chose The Blob, not the original from like 1958. The one from the 80s, because Ben said it's gross and horrific, and I think I'm ready.
I said it's... Okay, the way I described it to Bob, and I sold it to him, because Bob technically chose this movie.
Yes, that's true.
But it was really... I described the movie to Bob, a year ago when we started this podcast?
Way over a year ago now.
And Bob was like, that sounds really cool. I want to watch that.
Yeah.
And we haven't watched it yet, so he was like, well...
An excuse to watch it.
All right, we're watching The Blob from 1988.
Oh, it's 88.
So
okay.
it's the remake of the one from... I think it's the 50s.
I think it's 58. I think I'm not lying to you.
And the difference is, like, the one from the... I'm just going to say 50s. The one from the 50s
Sure.
is a standard, like, 1950s sci-fi creature feature. Kind of like it came from outer space or something like that. And kind of the whole idea there is it's horrifying, but you have to remember code laws are in place. So it's not that scary. You know, the heroes always win. Special effects weren't great. So it's a cool movie. I like it. I think it's a lot of fun because I like 50s cheesy sci-fi. But I don't think it's scary or horrifying, especially for the concept of, like, a slime from, like, D&D, essentially. It's 1958, by the way.
I was fucking right.
This one's 1988, so it's a 30-year anniversary thing.
Oh, that's sweet, actually.
But this one's like, well, what if we made that in the modern day with, like, actual practical effects?
Yeah, and it was, like, gross and scary.
Well, because, you know, it's a slime and it melts people.
Oh, God. Don't remind me. I will also preface this episode with Ben and I went and got food, like, right before this.
Oh.
And we are both so full.
We got some good Indian food.
Yeah.
It was great.
I'm really excited to throw it all up in a minute.
Yeah. All right. Description. The slime is back and better than ever.
Hell yeah.
Radical. I don't know. It was feeling like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles there for a second.
Oh, I see. I got it.
Length, 1 hour, 35 minutes long.
A normal length film. Let's go.
I know, it's great. Rated R.
Thank God.
Review scores. IMDb gave it a 6.6 out of 10. Tomato meter score of 68%. And an audience score of 58%.
That's better than I actually expected, honestly.
Yeah, it's not bad. This movie isn't, like, super, super famous and well-loved. But I think it's good. 1 win, 7 nominations.
Hell yeah.
Notable actors. Kevin Dillon as Brian Flagg. He played Lucky Larry in Poseidon.
That seems very appropriate.
Okay, I actually think I've seen this movie.
Okay.
It's a very small picture. But it's a retelling of, like, 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's the movie I'm thinking of. I could be wrong.
The reason I said appropriate, Ben, is because we were listening to in the car on the way here.
Oh, yeah. Shawnee Smith as Meg Penny. She's actually a famous person.
Oh, okay.
She'd be known from the horror community as Amanda in Saw.
Oh, we haven't seen any Saw movies.
No,
Damn.
but you'll know her once we see her. She's like one of the famous female characters from that series.
Okay, cool.
I say one of the most famous female character from that series.
That's sweet.
There's not a lot of famous female characters from the Saw franchise.
Well, it's almost like they all die horribly, probably.
That's fair. Donovan Leitch as Paul Taylor. He's Captain Charles Fessenden Morse in Glory. Jeffrey DeMunn as Sheriff Herb Geller. He was Harry Terwilliger in The Green Mile.
Oh, what is that, Stephen King?
Yep, it's one of essentially Stephen King's, well, 2 prison books, but like non-horror books.
Okay, that's cool.
Green Mile, do you know what the other one is?
Non-horror?
Yep. And we're not counting the Dark Tower here.
Yeah, because that's like sci-fi fantasy.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
They're
Actually,
like prison stories, if you don't know.
I don't know. What is it?
Shawshank Redemption.
I forgot that was a fucking Stephen King book. I
know,
wanted to
it's
say
so
that.
weird, right?
Man, that guy is prolific.
And the Shawshank Redemption's really good.
Oh, it is really good.
So
yeah.
is the Green Mile. I don't know.
I've not seen The Green Mile, but I've seen Shawshank Redemption.
See, how do I put this? The Shawshank Redemption does not feel like Stephen King.
No, not at all.
There's some weird stuff in Green Mile, and that feels like Stephen King, though.
Ah, I see.
Let's just say someone needs to be relieved.
Oh, no. Come on. Stephen King always writes weird shit like that.
It's not as bad as you think.
Oh, okay,
it's just
well.
like kind of an awkward scene to see on camera with Tom Hanks.
Gotcha. Wait, Tom Hanks? Tom Hanks is in that movie?
Yes, he is.
Holy shit.
Let's see. It's like the warden or something. It's been a while since I've seen Green Mile. Candy Clark as Fran Hewitt. She was Debbie in American Graffiti. Joe Seneca as Dr. Christopher Meadows. He was Willie Brown in Crossroads. Del Close as Reverend Meeker. He was Alderman in The Untouchables. Sharon Spellman as Mrs. Margaret Penny. She was Joyce Benson from Angie. She was on 36 episodes between 1979 and 1980. Bew Billingsley as Moss Woodley. They were Fitz in Halloween 7.
Fuck, we haven't gotten there.
I'm not going to tell you what the title of that one is.
Oh, it's probably going to piss me off.
Wow, really? It
Yeah.
was.
Look, after 3, it really... Ugh.
Yeah, after 3, the best one, we topped the charts, and then
Shut
it was all downhill.
3 is
from
the
there.
only one that I can look at, that I can go, look at that old man ass, and I'm right.
Art LaFleur as Tom Penny. He was the Babe on Sandlot.
Holy shit.
You know Sandlot, right?
Yeah.
The Babe, so Babe Ruth.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you'll actually, if we get a good look at him in this film, you'll recognize him.
Mm-hmm.
I recognized his face, and I was like, "What are you from?"
It's the Sandlot, probably.
I was like, "Is it the Sandlot?" And I was like, "Apparently."
Sandlot's a good movie.
He's also in Field of Dreams.
I've never seen Field of Dreams.
Also as a baseball player. Go figure. He's also in MASH.
I've never seen MASH.
I'm sorry. I looked at that guy's whole like IMDb page. And I was like, "What do I know your face from?" Ricky Paul Golden as Scott Jeske. He was Jake Martin from All My Children. He was on. You want to take a guess? Soap opera.
Soap opera. Okay.
Not the most we've seen. Definitely not the most.
Okay. I'll lowball it then. 265.
A little too low. 467.
I'm really bad at guessing these soap opera numbers.
But what's insane is that was between 2008 and 2011.
That's more than one a day. Like
no, it's not.
Well, that's not what I mean. I mean like
That's 3
wait,
years.
Hold on, that's 3 years. I'm bad at math.
That's 3 years.
That's like 100 a year though, and that's fucking nuts.
No, it's insane. It's more than. It's almost 200 a year.
What
nearly.
are you talking about?
Well, it's.
You said 467.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm bad at math.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little stupid, guys.
Because it's like it's 1.5 around about.
We can forget this. It's my birthday.
Almost. Paul McCrane as Deputy Billy Briggs. He was Robert Romano from ER. He was on
another fucking soap.
126 episodes between 1997 and 2008. Michael Kenworthy as Kevin Penny. He was in a movie we've seen on this podcast.
The name is familiar.
I don't think you liked him. I think you found him whiny and annoying, and like he was in a shitty TV show made for children's that cause bumps of goose flesh to appear on your skin.
Okay, so it's Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Yes.
Michael Kenworthy. But who is that?
I believe he's blonde.
Is he the kid?
Yeah, I believe he was Jesse Wilson in Return of the Living Dead 2.
Okay, maybe I won't hate him as much. Hopefully, I don't hate him as much.
I believe he's still a child in this.
Well, that's okay.
He looks the same.
Gotcha.
I didn't hate him in that movie.
I don't hate him in that movie either. I just don't.
I think he did a good job.
I think he did a good job. I just don't like that film.
I don't like that film. And you were really trying to sell that film while we were watching it.
Because I wanted to like it. I wanted to like it so bad. Because the
No,
first one is so good.
With that franchise, the first one's great, and then it's just downhill from
Well,
there.
we haven't been to Rave to the Grave yet.
It's a much cooler title, and you can't top the title.
Yeah, you really can't.
But the movie is never going to be as good as that title.
We'll see. We haven't gotten there.
Douglas Emerson as Eddie Beckner. He was Scott Scanlon from Beverly Hills, 90210. He was on 26 episodes between 1990 and 1991. Robert Axelrod as Jennings. He was... And okay, we're going to get into this, because this is also going to be a flashback for you, but also this is a lot of people. You ready?
Yeah.
He was Finster, Lord Zed, Lokar, Goofish, Grumble the Magic Elf, and Two-Headed Parrot from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I fucking knew it was Power Rangers as soon as you started naming those ridiculous-ass names.
He was on 141 episodes between 1993 and 1996.
Holy shit.
And that is... like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, like the big one. He was also in like the TV movie and stuff like that.
That's sweet.
Because he's the main villain, I believe.
Yes.
Ready for this one?
Whoa.
You ready for me to hit you with a curveball?
Okay.
Bill Moseley
Oh, fuck yeah!
as the soldier in the sewer.
What a fucking...
It's kind of a small role.
It is kind of a small role, but it is Bill Moseley, who we like.
He was Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
Erica Eleniaka. No, that's not how you sound that name. Eleniak. I'm going to say it that way.
I can't even see it.
As Vicky DeSoto. They were Jordan Tate in Under Siege. Jack Rader as Colonel Templeton Hargis. He was Police Chief Fowler in Outbreak. Finally, Jack Nance as Doctor. He was Henry Spencer in Eraserhead, a movie that will disturb Bob.
I've heard it's pretty bad. Not bad like quality, but like it's like it will fuck me up if we watch it.
It's just a really weird movie. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Tetsuo.
Okay.
Because it's just weird and slightly disturbing, but also potentially very boring depending on who you are.
It's the only movie that's ever made me throw up. That's not true. That was Audition.
Audition.
I got those two movies mixed up.
Just Japanese movies confuse Bob.
That's not true. But can I be honest? That was so many people, Ben. That was maybe the most people I think we've had on the list for that was so many.
For a little bit, but not really.
You don't think so? Okay.
Nah. Well, a little look behind the camera here. Sometimes I know the important actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll just grab those. Sometimes I can usually just grab the list of actors that look important if I don't remember.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what happened here.
Okay. It just felt that was the longest one we've had in a while.
No, it's fairly long, but the last couple movies we've watched have been small casts.
Yeah, that's fair, actually.
And this one's a fairly large cast because it's a town.
Mm-hmm.
Director, Chuck Russell. You might have heard of him.
I have heard the name.
He's directed one of your favorite franchises of all time.
Oh, Lord.
And
wait, hold on.
Obviously,
this is going to make me mad.
Obviously.
Am I about to get pissed off?
Obviously, I'm not talking about Michael Bay, so it's not
Shut
Transformers.
the fuck up. I don't like Transformers that much.
Arguably, it's a series you might like more.
More than Transformers?
Well, just parts of it. See, some parts of this franchise are really, really good.
You're giving Halloween.
See, the parts that Chuck Russell has made are not necessarily the parts of this franchise you like.
Okay.
The Scorpion King.
Oh my God! No way!
This man directed The Blob and then went on to direct The Scorpion King in 2002.
The worst mummy movie.
Well, no, that's
one
not
of the worst
that's not
mummy
true,
movies.
You forgot about Scorpion King 2.
Yeah, one of the worst mummy movies.
4.
Return of the Scorpion King or whatever the fuck.
Are you so excited for
God.
when we have to finish the Mummy franchise?
We're not doing that. No, Ben, we can't.
We have to do.
We can't. There's so many of them.
The Mummy's hands, the Mummy's curse, the Mummy cursed tomb,
the curse of the Mummy's tomb's hand or whatever.
And then Scorpion King.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Oh, we're doing all of them.
No, we're not.
Scorpion
then
King
we have
TV
to
show?
watch the 2018 The Mummy or whatever.
Oh, I'll take that bullet for all the Scorpion King movies. As for writers, once again, Chuck Russell.
Okay.
So, look, I've kind of sold him here as maybe not the best director, right?
Sure.
I'm going to be honest here. I was just naming the Scorpion King because that's a meme, and I knew you'd recognize that.
Sure.
He is associated with pretty famous stuff that people like. For instance, he also wrote, or at least co-wrote, I'm not sure specifics, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors.
That's like the best one.
Which is a lot of people's favorite one.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. Now, but also like the Scorpion King and this are very different films.
Oh my god, one's an action film and one's
a horror movie.
Body horror.
Yeah. So, also there's what, a fucking 30-year difference in time between these?
Yeah.
So he's had a lot, you know what I mean?
20.
20-ish, yeah.
Because it's 88.
Oh, yeah, and that came out like 2000 something.
24 years.
Yeah. But still.
About as long since you've been born. Because it's your birthday.
On the day this comes out, it will be exactly 24 years, yeah.
And then the other writer is, Frank Darabont.
Ooh, that name is really familiar.
Yes. He's worked on a couple famous pieces, including two things we've already mentioned today.
Return of the Living Dead.
No.
Oh.
Well, actually, maybe. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, that was that...
I mean, I can look it up if you want. But the things I was going to list is The Green Mile and The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that is actually probably more accurate. But I feel like I remember you talking about him on Return of the Living Dead. Or was that David Bannon? Bannon is tied to Return of the Living Dead, but I don't remember.
Good thing I have a handy-dandy thing for looking up stuff. It's called a phone.
Yeah, I was about to say, the thing in your hand?
No.
Oh, in your butt. Ben types on his phone with his ass cheeks, everybody.
Honestly, that would be very impressive.
It would be
I
extremely
wouldn't
impressive.
even be mad.
I think the problem would be getting your, taking a phone call, right? Because it would be on your butt.
I guess. That'd be easier. You just have to hit one button.
How would you hear it?
Vibrations. The people who wrote Return of the Living Dead, Rudy Ritchie, John A. Russo, Russell Streiner, Dan O'Bannon.
Okay. It was Dan O'Bannon.
That's who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Because Dan O'Bannon's the only screenplay writer.
Okay. The name just seemed really familiar.
All right. So we're getting to some iffies. Iffy stuff.
Okay.
Budget, estimated at $10 million. Pretty decent.
88? Hell yeah.
What? No, $10 million.
Yeah, I said
okay.
in 1988.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good. That's a good amount of money.
I thought you said 8.
No.
And I was like, wow. Because that's the box office.
Oh!
$8 million. 8.2.
Yikes.
But yeah.
That
Country
sucks.
of origin, United States.
Okay.
Tagline: Terror has no shape.
Oh, that's pretty good. I
Pretty
like that
great.
one.
All right, so we've already covered this film's a remake of the 1958 film of the same name. Production of this film began on January 11th, 1988, with a cast and crew of approximately 150 people. They were all staying at apparently a travel lodge at Abbeville, Louisiana, which appears to be where this film was primarily shot at.
Okay.
Which I think is a different filming location than the original town. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but last time I checked, they were still doing and it's been several years since I've checked, but I know back when I was younger, they were doing an annual Blob festival there every year.
Oh, that's really cool.
And so there's a very famous scene in Blob, and they would recreate it every year.
Wow, that's really rad.
Tons of tiny towns do stuff like that if they're really
Mhm.
famous for something. For instance, there's a Mothman Festival every year in West Virginia, which I really want to go to.
You have been trying to get me to go to that with you.
It's in September, and it's only like 4 hours away.
Maybe.
Do you remember the
Well, it's not-
21st night?
I was going to say, it's not on the 21st night of September, is it?
It could be. Anyways, last thing I want to say, special effects. So they were done by Tony Gardner. Tony Gardner was originally supposed to provide only a couple small things for the film, not the whole special effects. Those were originally supposed to be covered by Lyle Conway. However, after personal changes ended up happening, Gardner ended up running a crew of 33 people to do all the special effects for this
Damn.
film.
That's a lot of
including,
people.
Artist Chet Zar, mechanical effects designer Bill Sturgeon.
Pretty cool.
It's a lot of people, but it definitely needs that many people.
I mean, yeah, it's a movie about where, the special effects is sort of the draw. I'm excited to watch this for the special effects.
And you got your bucket.
And I have a trash can ready and really, really excited to throw up. Maybe. Hopefully not. If I make it through this movie and don't throw up, I'm putting this out there. Next year, if we don't watch it by then, we're watching Hostel for my birthday.
I mean, I think you might be fine. I'm never sure what makes you throw up.
That's true.
The thing that made you throw up an audition, I thought was nothing.
Oh, don't. Just the thought of it.
It was just someone
Just the thought of it. makes me wanna
licking
vomit
a
again.
vomit like it was milk because it was milky white,
Shut up. I'm gonna.
just like Jack's favorite cow.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you didn't react to my
That
reference
took me a
last
second.
time.
Fuck you.
For anyone who didn't get that, it was a musical theater joke
Yeah.
for Into the Woods. Very, very famous musical. And I made a joke about Into the Woods 3 episodes ago, and I've been mad at Bob for not laughing at it.
You
This
really
whole
holding a
time.
grudge over the Into the Woods reference.
Yep.
I think in the episode I just go, okay. And then I move on and don't acknowledge it at all.
For a normal person, it would be okay for you not to acknowledge it. But I know specifically Bob was a theater nerd growing up, so I knew he knew what I was talking about.
I knew exactly what you were talking about. I just didn't want to acknowledge it.
All right. On that note, though, we gotta skedaddle and watch this film.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching The Blob from 1988.
That is correct. Yes,
I got it.
you
This
did.
time.
We said it a couple times, so I had hoped so by this point.
Yeah, well, sometimes my memory lapses on me.
It's the early onset Alzheimer's.
Yeah. I was going to say it was the dementia, but
You wouldn't remember.
you're right. You're so right, Ben.
That's what
Holy
happens
shit.
when you turn
Hey,
24.
Yeah, it really gets to you. The ripe old age of 24.
Dude, I know. I've been feeling that like all year.
Jesus Christ, man. Huh.
Future's wild.
Yeah.
With Discovery Kids. No? You never watched that show?
No.
Ah, okay. That's okay.
Okay.
By the way, we watched a movie today. How'd you feel about it?
Man, I said this during the movie. I liked it way more than I thought I was going to.
You didn't just say it one time. You said it repeatedly.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's a cool movie.
That's the thing is like coming in, you'd explain to me that it was gross and disgusting and body horror was rampant.
Well, I wanted to prep you.
Yes,
And I definitely needed to.
you did need to. And I guess I was sort of just expecting that to be what the movie was, and it kind of is. But they do so much other cool shit that just brings it up. It was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
And way more enjoyable than I thought it was going
I'm
to be.
glad you liked your birthday movie.
Me too. 2 good ones this year. We got 2 good ones. 2 very different films.
Very different. Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 is not exactly the same thing.
No.
That being said, usual spiel here. I'm going to do a quick summary of the Blob, and then we're going to get into spoilers for the movie.
Yeah.
There's not really a good way for me to not be spoilery about
Mhm.
this film. Especially because, it's a fairly decent remake
Yeah.
of the older movie.
Well, I
from
wouldn't know if it's a good remake,
1958. Well, the same, rough points are followed.
Yeah.
It's not exact, but, a lot of the same plot points, not characters or stuff, are there. Point being, spoilers for that, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, spoilers all around. But try to go in blind. It really does make the experience better than not know exactly what's going to happen.
No, I'm so glad I didn't know some of the stuff that happened because it was so cool to get to see it for the first time.
With that being said, brief rundown here. If you don't already know, because it's basically the same setup as the original, there's a meteorite. It crashes down to Earth, and poor old Jordy Verrill sees it. He's a homeless man.
Is
this
that
time.
what his name is now, Jordy Verrill, because he's not given an actual name?
Yeah. He's some old homeless man with the dog.
Yeah.
And he sees the meteorite crash down, and he begins to poke the meteorite with a stick,
As one should.
as one should. And you know what starts to come out?
The Blob.
Darn meteorite juice.
Darn meteorite juice.
It gets on this dude, starts eating him, and as it eats, it grows bigger, and
Mhm.
slowly it starts attacking this town.
Yeah. That's really the whole film.
That sounds cool. Check it out. I know it's really simple, but it is very much a monster terrorizes town
Mm-hmm.
in a very blatant way. Kind of thing.
Yeah, very much in the same vein as something like Eight-Legged Freaks. Except instead of giant spiders, it's a big old blob. It's pretty sweet.
One blob.
Yeah.
It's just one,
It's just one.
interestingly enough.
But it's still super cool.
That being said, big spoilers, because we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, probably the biggest, most noteworthy thing about this film is the practical effects.
Oh, they look so cool.
This film looks really good for practical effects. I think the first thing you notice is the blob itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think when most people imagine it, they imagine goo
Mm-hmm.
or slime, the stuff you'd get as a toy.
Yeah.
But it's more of I don't know, a fleshy mucus thing.
Yeah, it's like lumpy and fleshy in like the grossest ways possible, but the most organic way possible that it feels real.
The best way I can describe it is it feels like they got, the latex they sometimes make like fake masks or skin out of?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
It's like that pink latex, and then they covered it with like a lubricant,
Vaseline.
like oil or Vaseline, and they just have it bubble and like kind of slop around.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't roll. It kind of stretches and stuff. So it's a very distinctive way it moves, and it's very reminiscent of like, I don't know, an amoeba or something.
Mm-hmm.
And, that in of itself is really, really cool. But I think the way that really pushes the practical effects to the limit is how the blob goes about killing people.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think this is a great discussion for kind of the takeaway for this film, which is this film is mean.
Yes.
This is one of like the meanest films I've seen in a long time. Because look, first of all, the way the blob kills people is horrific.
Yes. It's horrible.
So it's an acidic creature. So everything it touches begins to dissolve into itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's organic. It doesn't look like it can digest
like metals and stuff.
inorganic materials. So point being, when it touches someone, when it grabs onto them, it begins to melt them. But once it gets to the size that it's really attacking people, it's also big enough to wrap around people.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the people we see die by the blob are both suffocated and melted alive at the same time.
While they're screaming in pain.
And the process is not quick.
No.
There's multiple scenes where you see someone like half eaten or inside this thing, like just trying to get out, falling apart. And it's just as horrific as it sounds, because that's where the great practical effects come in with gore and stuff. Lots of melty bodies. For me, it felt very reminiscent of some of the practical effects in like From Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Again, with that pink latex, slimy-looking substance. But they just have lots of melting faces.
Lots of limbs like melting off and separating.
Yeah, some like decapitated torsos.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the half bodies and stuff where people get half melted are so good.
But my favorite effect is that, sometimes the creature will dissolve someone from the outside, but sometimes it'll like shoot a tendril into someone and dissolve them from the inside out.
Brutal.
And so they'll become like a little shell that'll crush, like kind of reminds me of like a shed snake skin. And there's some horrific bits they pull with that reveal.
Oh God, it's so brutal.
But yeah, I mean I think all those kills are really, really good. I think the practical effects are really, really good.
Yeah.
And to be honest here, that's the main draw of this movie for me.
That's fair.
Because I'm going to be honest, the plot itself is not very complex.
No, it's not.
But I also don't think many of the characters are very engaging.
There is one character that is super engaging.
We had 3 main characters. Kind of a spoiler here. It's at the beginning of the movie, but I already warned you.
I mean, I wanted to talk about this anyway because I think it's cool.
They do one of the best like switch ups for main characters. We start the film on this one dude. He's like the football quarterback. We watch him interact with the obvious male lead, Meg. This guy's name's Paul. We get about 30 minutes into the movie, and he's the second guy to die to the blob.
Yep.
They even set him up with this perfect like shitty rival dude, kind of like the Han Solo to his Luke.
Yep.
And yet this other dude who they set up as kind of like the tertiary antagonist becomes the main character.
It's really good.
And that's they call him Fig.
Nope.
No, Flag.
That's his last name. You'll get there.
I don't know. What's his first name?
Brian.
Brian. Is it Brian or Ryan?
It's Brian.
Okay. But Flag is like the punk with a heart.
Yeah.
He's very sassy the whole time.
It's very good.
He's really the only character.
Yeah, he's the only character that is like, well, him and I like the Reverend. The Reverend has good setup.
Reverend's just a little bit though.
Yeah.
Basically, the main characters are him and Meg as they kind of explore what's happening and then have a weird chemistry kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
But out of the two of them, Meg's just kind of there as female lead who sometimes does stuff.
Yeah.
And Flag isn't really fleshed out too much, but you can tell who he is from some of his actions, and that at least makes him somewhat interesting.
The characters are very one-dimensional.
Yeah, and I do think that's kind of the weak part about this film. It's just like Practical effects are great. I think the creature's super cool. I think they use it really well.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, watching this movie makes me go, wow, you could make like a Blob in like an RPG like D&D or something a lot scarier
Oh, for
than
sure.
most people do, or even a video game. And I think that's so great. I think that's so cool. But then the rest of this movie, where the Blob isn't on screen, is just, I don't want to say it blows, but it's just very, very weak.
That's totally fair. And I agree with you in a lot of ways. My only thing is, like, I don't know how much, like, in-depth character stuff you could get while maintaining the level of coolness of the Blob, because a lot of screen time is spent just looking at the creature do stuff. So it's like, do we want to take away from the monster, or do we want to add more characterization stuff when I don't think it needs it, because it still works. And I still had a good time.
I mean, I don't think the film needs it. To be honest, for like the way this creature works, you know, it's an amorphous blob that just like disintegrates stuff and then grows bigger. Functionally, in some ways, it reminds me of The Thing from The Thing. You know,
Yeah, we
John
talked about
Carpenter's
that.
The Thing. Oh, we talked about it during the movie, I think.
Yeah, we did.
Except, you know, obviously it isn't doing the whole like disguise thing and mimicking. But it works in a similar process of like grabbing onto something and consuming it and just being like this unimaginable threat you can't fight. And with, you know, again, really great practical effects. You want a movie with really great practical effects with a body horror monster. The Thing is like,
That's top tier.
that's the top tier. And in a lot of ways, I think this movie is similar, which makes sense. It came out a couple years later. But I do want to point out that, you know, you said you don't know how much character stuff you could have going on with a film like this. But if we look at The Thing, which I think is relatively similar, that film does have a lot of character development.
That's fair. But there's a lot less characters in that movie.
That's fine, but you just focus on our main characters. And, like, even our main characters weren't very fleshed out in this film.
I guess that's fair.
And I think the point I want to make is, at least for me, this film feels like a good time for myself as a horror fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at those reviews that we saw on, like, IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, and I look at their, like, 60s, 50s, and I'm like, that makes sense. Because outside of the practical effects, which I'm super into, and some of this insane, like, horror elements that are really interesting from a creative standpoint, the film is functionally not very strong.
I mean, that's fair.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Because they executed parts of it just so great, and it's all the human parts that are really holding it back.
Huh. I hadn't really thought about it like that. I like the fact that for a general audience, I could see it. Like, this probably isn't the best movie for them.
Especially because, like, if you don't like practical effects, because I know some people don't.
See, that's crazy.
And you have to remember, this is about a blob that looks like snot.
Yeah.
This film probably isn't really fun because all the character stuff sucks.
Yeah.
Not the worst, but it's not.
It's not the worst. We've definitely
not
seen
great.
way worse on the podcast.
But I do think, again, it keeps some stuff interesting. We've mentioned how, like, the person they set up as the main character dies really early on. That's kind of the tip-off to what I think this film does really well. So it doesn't do a lot of development, I think, on the character side. But we are introduced to a fairly large cast of characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a fairly large town. And I say fairly large. It's a small town. But there's a lot of extras and stuff.
Yeah.
And we get to see the same extras repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very least, I think what the film does really well with its writing is it makes each of the extras we see a couple times feel like they're important characters. Even if they're only going to be seen for, like, 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Like, there's one guy, I think he's like Moss or something.
Yeah,
is his
he's
name?
the guy that owns
this hardware store.
It's
Not
like a
hardware
mechanic
store.
shop.
It's a mechanic shop for, like, snow vehicles. Because it's a ski town. And he's in, like, 30 seconds of the movie. But he feels very important.
Yeah. And I
because
like
of
him.
just how the movie frames this character and how it frames a lot of these named characters. I want to mention that because the film plays pretty loose with the rules of plot armor.
Yeah.
It basically goes, we're going to do our best to make every character feel like they're important to the plot.
And then we're going to kill as many of them as possible.
And
it's sweet. I love it so much.
I think that's what really carries me through most of the human segments of this film.
Because it adds a layer of tension to every single moment because you don't know whether someone's going to live or die because they've already broken the rule of killing your main character.
Yeah. And I think that's really what sells at least those segments and keeps it from being boring.
Like, there's so many moments where it's like, I 50-50 shot Meg's just going to get fucking annihilated right now.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, it felt like she was going to die. a couple times.
And it, like, no film that we've seen in a long time has made me actually feel like there's a chance of a main character dying like that.
But, like, more than that, there's, we get late in the film, there's a couple, like, characters who have survived the whole time and then just die randomly, and it's like, what? Or there's 2 characters that get a kind of cute romantic moment and then are brutally murdered together.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
separately, but, like, they get to see each other melting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my favorite one is they kill a kid.
They do kill a kid.
Like, graphically
they
melt him.
Murder a child. And it's not that I support child murder, but it's pretty cool.
And it really just drives home, again, how mean this film is. Because that kid is still alive as his flesh is melting off and he's screaming.
Yep. It's so brutal. For me personally, as someone who is a fan of horror and was worried coming into the film, I just think a lot of the things, aside from just like the gore and stuff, that really brought this film up are like, there's lots of stuff where they do models for like car crashes or like action sequences. And I just think all of that stuff is so cool and so interesting. There's explosions. It's just so much more of a action-packed, dynamic monster movie than I expected. I expected more of the focus to be on the body horror and the melting and stuff. And while that's all still there, it's intertwined with all of this action and all this other cool stuff really well. So it's balanced. It doesn't feel like, I'm not going and just going, oh, I feel sick to my stomach. Like, it's too gross. They balance it out to make it feel palatable.
Yeah, you can tell they really worked hard on this movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, it doesn't feel like it falls into that, early 2000s level of torture porn kind of stuff where it's like, let's kill people horrifically just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And it's also not just like, let's have all the characters survive for no reason. It feels like a very balanced film for what it's going for. As far as like downsides of this film go, though, because it is a remake, let's keep that in mind. And so I think that makes certain plot beats for this movie kind of predictable. Like, it mirrors certain scenes from the original. But the big thing I'm going to mention here is, like, lots of people who've seen the original, if you like it because it's got that cheesy 50s charm.
Yeah.
And this movie doesn't have that.
No, it's got 80s action movie.
It's got 80s grunge.
Which is my favorite thing.
Which is Bob's favorite thing. But I just want to note that it's a weird tone for what the concept of this film is.
Well, because the concept is innately, like, horrifying yet ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous sci-fi. And part of me still kind of wants that.
But I think you do get some of that, though. Like, there are some genuinely really, really funny, horrifying scenes. Like, anytime Flag just throws out a one-liner just for the sake of it, it's funny to me. Like, it's because he's throwing it out as, like, a way to cope with this horrible thing that's happening, and it's enjoyable. There's also scenes where they're just, like, the people trying to deal with the Blob think they've handled, and they're like, job done. And then it just is not over, and it's awesome.
Yeah, we haven't discussed it yet, but the government shows up at one point.
Oh, yeah.
They have just hazmat suits. They look like
They
people
look cool.
from the Crazies.
Yeah.
Like the original one by Romero. Except cooler hazmat suits.
Way cooler.
And what Bob's referring to is at one point they load the Blob with bullets. They're like, yes.
Well, they load the Blob with bullets and they drop a fucking satchel charge on it and blow it up and go, job's done. The job was not done.
No.
It's awesome. That's something that we haven't really talked about, is this whole, like, government aspect tied to it. I actually think it's handled way better than something like the Crazies. Like, I feel like the soldiers in this are, like, actually competent in trying to do what they're supposed to do.
Well, yeah, the soldiers in the Crazies were wildly incompetent to the
So
point
incompetent.
of lunacy.
But my point is, I think this is a better version of, like, town gets quarantined than some of the other films we've seen on the podcast. Like, I think it's handled well, and it's, like, genuinely sort of interesting subplot that didn't need to be good, but it is good, so it helps the film.
And I also think it's an interesting thing to mention because it pushes all the characters into one area, and it forces a giant confrontation.
Which is
at the end
cool.
of this film.
Because when you have one big monster, it sort of runs into the, like, logistical problem of how is it going to get all these people? But it sort of forces them into one spot and allows for a really, really cool... I think the end of this movie is fucking rad, by the way. That's my big thing. That's, like, one of my favorite parts is, like, them confronting the Blob for the final time. It's so rad. So cool.
Well, do you have anything else, though?
I don't think I have anything else I really want to talk about.
Okay. Well, then I guess before we go to recommendations,
Okay.
I want to bring this up because I think we've talked about it in the past. I believe there's been talk about a remake in the works, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Okay, hold on.
So
I'm whipping my phone out to Google because I remember bringing this up on the podcast
I think
a
it
while
was
ago.
with director David Bruckner.
You are so right.
I pulled up an article from Fangoria because I was thinking about that while you were talking. I just wanted to bring that up because, like, look, we had the original film in 1958, and then we had a remake 30 years later.
True. There was also a sequel. I just read that. I didn't know that. Came out in 72.
Fair enough. But point being, it's been nearly 44 years now?
It's been a long time, yeah.
And we haven't really had anything like that. Times have changed. What people expect from cinema has changed. Techniques have changed.
Technology has
CGI
advanced.
is rampant now. And I mean, I think for me, it's kind of this idea of, I wonder what the new one will look like.
I really hope it's similar to this one.
Because I can tell that, like, this one leans into the body horror aspects heavily because they had the technology to do that. And so, I don't know. I'm hopeful it kind of keeps up with that trend of being, like, gross and pushing the bounds of, like, what a crazy slime monster would be like.
You know what would be
but
awesome?
has better characterization and everything? That'd be great.
Yeah, that's fair. I was going to say, we already know who's going to direct the Blob remake. You said it was David Bruckner, but
It looks like it.
But I was like, what if Eli Roth made a Blob film? That might be the end for me. I might have to explode if that happened. An Eli Roth Blob film would probably go crazy. I just like Eli
That's
Roth,
fair.
though.
Yeah, you do. You think you can handle all this stuff.
I handled Cabin Fever fairly well, and I like that movie.
That's fair, I guess.
We need to watch Thanksgiving. And all his other films.
Did I say 48 years?
I don't know.
I think it's like 36.
I don't know, dude.
I don't
We're
fucking
both...
know.
It's midnight.
It's our second recording
We've been
of
recording
the day.
all day.
I slept 2 hours last night.
Same.
It's great. But yeah, I think that's something to look forward to if the project actually goes through.
I hope so.
I think it's so early in development, I haven't heard anything. But I always like to see really, really classic things get remade because, I'm not the biggest fan of remakes. I'd rather see something original.
I mean, that's fair.
But sometimes when a film comes out of such a different time period,
it's cool to
not
see
only
a
like technologically, but culturally,
remake.
it's kind of cool to see how different people handle stuff.
Yeah.
And you can get really different films. I mean, I'll bring it up again because we've already talked about it today, but The Thing, which is, again, great film for practical effects. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. We haven't reviewed it on the podcast yet, but it's absolutely
What are we saving it for?
fucking amazing.
Why haven't we watched
It
that?
just hasn't had a good category yet. But with that being said, there's multiple versions of that movie because it's based on a book.
Yeah.
There's The Thing from, 1982, right?
I don't remember when that one came out, but I know the original is from the 50s.
And then there's an original from the 50s. The one from the 50s, A Thing from Another World. I think it's 1951. Yeah, 1951, and then the one from 1982. And
then didn't they make one in 2010?
we don't talk about that one. I think it was 2011. We don't talk about The Thing
Okay.
from
They're
2011.
all called The Thing. Well, the first one's not
The
called
Thing
The
from
Thing.
Another World. And I will say, The Thing from, again, I think it's 2011 is a prequel. So the one from 1982.
Okay. I thought it was a remake.
And it's poor CGI throughout. And it's not very good.
See, that's what I'm worried about with this Blob remake.
But the thing I want to mention here and really stress when we're talking about like remakes and stuff is, from my understanding, because I haven't read Who Goes There, which is the book that both those
That's
stories
such
are
a good
based
name
on.
for that book.
Yeah. I believe the 1982 is more faithful to what the book is like
Oh, that's really cool.
than the 1951 version. But they are vastly different movies. I've seen both of them. They have a similar setting of like Antarctica and stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of a similar concept of like, oh, there's an alien, but very, very different movies. But I love both of them. And I would like to see, like, I'd be okay if the new Blob movie is completely different from this one or completely different from the original, especially tonally, which it's 100% probably going to be.
Oh, yeah.
But as long as you make it your own and you do something
Cool and interesting.
that's cool, I mean, I think there's a reason to keep watching it even if it has some weaker points, like this film.
Yeah.
That being said, you want to give it a recommendation?
Yeah. If you've seen the 1958 version, check this out. I don't know how faithful it is, but Ben has said that it keeps some of the same like beats and plot points. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to look at. if you want a movie about body horror or a movie focused on body horror and sort of how gross and disgusting it can be, I will put this out there. I don't want to say it's the grossest film we've seen on the show because I don't know if that's true, but it is some of the most horrific scenes in any film we've seen. Like the scene in the car fucked me up.
Oh,
That
I
one
love that one.
fucked me up,
Because
Ben.
you don't necessarily
No,
expect it.
not at all.
And also, that one character so deserved it. And
Oh,
then the
yeah.
other one did not.
The other one did not deserve it at all. That's what this movie is very mean-spirited. Ben is correct. It kind of sucks, but in a good way because it's like supposed to be.
Well, I think the mean-spiritedness makes this film not feel goofy.
Yeah.
It otherwise would have felt very goofy.
Mm-hmm.
Because people collapsing like their paper bags having the air sucked out of them is innately kind of funny looking.
It's kind of cartoonish. Oh, the sink thing. Oh, sorry, I'm having flashbacks.
I really wanted him to have like a dude get sucked out a sink, and the last thing to go down is a foot, and I really wanted it to be like a thumbs up hand sucked down.
That's pretty funny. I think for my last recommendation, if you want to see something similar to The Crazies or any other sort of quarantine-style film, I think this movie handles that really well, and I think it's very interesting. Because we haven't really talked about it. There is definitely a tipping point in the film where the government loses control, and it's so satisfying to watch, and it's so cool, and it's so fun. And I just think that it's one of the more interesting versions of government quarantine small town, if you're interested in that sort of setup. But those are my recommendations.
All right. I think mine are pretty straightforward. If you like body horror and practical effects together, I think this is a great film for that. There's not necessarily always easily accessible films that combine those really well, especially with like a creature feature. But if that sounds cool, this film is definitely worth checking out for that. If you're into films that feel very 80s, this film feels really 80s. There's a straight up
it does.
Cold War plot point.
Yeah, man.
Like the most 80s thing you could do in this film.
Oh, it's so cool.
But I think my big kind of recommendation for this film is if you like the original. You know, if you're into 1950s cinema, you have to watch the new remakes. Because, like, you either get to see, oh my god, they ruined this thing I love, let me trash it. Or, oh, this is a weird take on this thing that I know.
And that's always just interesting.
And also, the reverse is true. If this sounds like a cool movie, but you're interested in like using it as a jumping off point for like 1950 cinema because you're not familiar with that, that's also a good way to handle
Man,
this.
now I want to watch the 50s version. Damn it. I might have to pitch a category next season just so we can watch it.
Nah, we just have to watch a third film that has an original 1950s movie, and then we can watch like 1950s original sci-fi.
Oh, man, that's a good one, too.
Because once we cover the thing, we'll have the thing from another world.
Yeah.
We'll have the Blob.
I'm sure we have one already, right? We have to have covered something that has a cool
I don't
50s original.
I could do a stretch with Eight-Legged Freaks.
And do what? Watch Kingdom of the Spiders?
No, there's that original spider film, Tarantula.
Yeah.
Anyways, you want to rate it?
Okay, look, I know we kind of shit on it a little bit, but I really like this movie.
It's not a 5.
It's not a 5. It's not a 5.
That's how we start a lot of these recommendations, but
It's not a 5. Well, because a lot of movies aren't 5s, right? 5s are reserved for things that we think are above and beyond.
except for season 8. and
Well,
7.
season 8 went... Well, was that season 7? Season 7 went kind of crazy. You went kind of crazy, Ben. You pitched a lot of good movies that season. But I still really, really like the film. But I think you're right. The characterization is weak, and that hurts it. And I think general audience enjoyment brings my score down. But I'm still going to give it a 4. It at least deserves a 4. Just on the practical effects alone, it deserves it. And that movie theater scene fucking blew my mind. Like, that is one of the coolest scenes in a film ever, in my opinion. It's so, so, so good.
Very impressive. Like Bob said, there's miniature work because once the slime gets to a certain size, it's like, we're not going to make this giant, assumedly latex practical prop.
It would be crazy.
It'd be crazy. So they make one that's tiny, and obviously they're using miniature stuff with it, like miniature peoples and miniature, like, cars. But they do excessive amounts of, like, what's it called? Where they'll have, like, the image of the miniature imposed over, like, real-life scale stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's all done really well.
It all looks good.
I forget what that technique's called. We saw a lot of it in Slurposaurus.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called either. Did you tell me what it was when we watched those movies?
No, I
don't
forget.
remember. We should learn film techniques so we know their names.
Well, no, I literally know the term, but it's like actually slipping my
Look,
mind.
man, it's like midnight.
Very impressive, though.
Very impressive. Very good.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's my turn, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm kind of in a hard place because, let me be honest, more than half of the movie doesn't have the blob, and those parts are very weak for the most part.
Sure.
But I don't think they're horrible. And at the end of the day, all the blob stuff is not only very creative, because they push what it can do to, like, I think pretty horrifying and also inspiring extremes.
Yeah.
But it looks super, super cool. And we've discussed this. I'm just a big fan of practical effects. And so I think I have to give this film, at least for me, a 4. I'm going to be honest here. If I was going to be more objective and I didn't love practical effects as much, this film would probably be a 3.5, maybe a 3.
That's where I felt, but I like it too much. So
But
I have to
I-
give it a 4.
Enjoy the practical effects too much.
Yeah.
And so it's a 4. But I did want to bring that up because I'm like, well, if you aren't necessarily a big fan of practical effects, I think a 3.5 is a little bit more average and
I think
probably
the
a little
movie's
bit more
probably just okay.
expressive of your interests. And if
Yeah.
you really don't like practical effects, you think they look goofy, especially imagine like practical slime stuff, it's probably going to be a 3, if not lower.
See, that's crazy because I think this
Because
thing's horrifying.
the body effects are cool, but some of it's just watching a slime goop around. And if you think that looks stupid, well, then that's going to take away from your enjoyment a lot.
Well, if you think that looks stupid, why are you watching a movie called The Blob?
I don't know. All right. Well, I guess we're going to go to the outtakes now.
Yeah, lots of me. There's a really, really good one I think of me almost puking. I almost fucking lost it, like, immediately. But, yeah. We'll see you guys in a minute. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of The Blob from 1988 so far. I really like this film. I think it's super, super duper fun, and the practicals look so gross and nice. But without further ado, let's get in to the outtakes. This first clip is me dreading a classic horror movie trope. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, hell no. There's a dog here. Oh, Ben.
Sayonara, sucker.
Fuck. Every time.
Yeah.
This next clip is our reaction to seeing the blob melt someone for the very first time. Oh, Paul dies immediately. Holy shit, that's crazy. Why are you trying to help him? He's so dead. Oh, you're gonna rip his arm off. Oh my god.
How you feeling?
I'm okay. I think I'm okay. This next clip is our reaction to one of the most horrific scenes in the entire film. It almost made me vomit. Just waiting for the blob to annihilate his ass. Oh! Oh! Oh my god. No, that's fucked up, Ben. That's fucked up. That's so fucked up.
I know. At least the blob kind of saved her. They killed her, but you got really close to vomiting there.
Oh, yes. This next clip is the reason you shouldn't put your hand in a sink.
Sounds like the jellyfish
Don't
jam.
put your hand in there. Don't put your hand in there. Don't put your hand in there. You're a fucking maniac.
Well,
You're so
most
fucking
people
stupid.
would.
No, Ben,
It's not like there's a disposal there. Well, there wasn't before.
there is now.
There is now.
Oh, no, he got it. Oh! Oh! No, 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 no! That's so bad. That's so bad. Oh! Holy shit!
Maybe he's okay.
I don't think he's okay, Ben. This movie is so much cooler than I thought it was gonna be. This next clip is exactly why you shouldn't trust priests.
Reverend, what have you done to this place? Where's the
That's
sheriff?
so fucking funny. Someone rolls up and goes, "My God, Reverend, you ate them.
You went on a drunk bender again.
Destroyed an entire phone booth.
You ate Fran and Herb.
You put George in the sink."
How'd you even get him in there?
Very carefully. By the power of God. This next clip is our reaction to the Blob becoming even more terrifying by utilizing one of my greatest fears.
Least
It's in
of
the
their
water.
concern.
It's in the water. That is so fucking scary. I did not think this movie could get worse. The fact that it is in the water is making me shit a brick right now. I cannot That's not going to stop it. That MF can climb walls.
They're just trying to get away.
Oh, goodbye, Eddie. You can't save him, stupid. No way. She's so dumb. Not you, Meg.
Not you, Meg. Meg.
There's no fucking way. If she comes up with the kid, I'm going to lose it. Okay.
Poop water.
Yeah, right in my...
Keep in mind that was a child.
Yeah. Oh, God. That looked like, the end of Friday Part 1. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have anything to announce, Benjamin? I think we're done now, right? Well, except for the other thing.
Unless, those 3 things that we've promised haven't come out yet.
They haven't come out
They probably
yet.
haven't come out yet. I'm going to be honest. So, those will be out eventually, probably, maybe. Could
Yeah.
be another year.
No, it
One
won't be
more
another
year.
No,
One more year.
there will be one more. I just bit my own tongue, by the way. That hurt. Ow. There'll probably be another year of the podcast, I think.
No, I meant for those episodes to come out.
Well.
Unrelated
We've already recorded one of them.
to how long the podcast lasts.
The podcast will end. Those episodes will come out.
That's our going away present.
Yeah.
Anyways, usual stick. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're checking us out on any of those podcast platforms, please give us a quick rating or review. That really helps us get recommended to other people via the algorithm on those sites. Additionally, if you have any friends that you think might like the podcast, it's super helpful to just recommend it to them in person.
Yeah.
That's really nice. It's kind of cool. Otherwise, check us out on YouTube. While not great for audio-only content, it is nice because it gives us a little bit of a judge over how engagement's going with the show. At least more easily than other styles of analytics with, subscriptions, views, likes, stuff like that. But big thing with YouTube here is it's got a couple tools that you guys might be interested in. There's a bell button that lets you get notified whenever we post something new. For instance, an episode like this, which doesn't come out on our regular Thursday schedule. Additionally, YouTube
Thursday?
has...
What are you talking about?
Well, it comes out Thursday at midnight. So for
You mean
everyone else...
Friday at midnight.
For
you
everyone
dweeb.
else, it comes out on Friday. But we work third shift, so...
That's true. You're right. That's fair.
Point being, otherwise YouTube has a search button, lets you search key terms in all our videos. For instance, movie names, so if you're curious if we covered a movie, that's a really good way to figure that out. But big thing with YouTube is it's one of the 2 major places to communicate with us a bit. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video, or you can go over to Twitter, @BewareTheBoard, and crash into Bob's DMs. He'll start poking you with a stick, you'll gloop onto his hand, and you'll just be the best of friends forever.
Ew. Ew. That's so gross, Ben.
Oh, Jordy Verrill. God,
So
meteorite
Jordy
juice
Verrill,
all over
meteorite
you.
juice. I love that we keep referencing probably our favorite bit from Creepshow.
You know what makes this so much funnier?
What?
Is I'm pretty sure we mentioned Jordy Verrill in the other episode we recorded today.
Did we really?
And I think that's why we're mentioning it now. Because I think when we were recording that episode, we went, what was Stephen King's name in that?
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Holy shit.
Hot take. What episode was that, guys?
Figure it out.
Figure it out. I'll tell you if you want. It was whatever we recorded today. Episode 84, whatever movie that was.
Do you not remember?
I'm very tired.
Well, I'm not going to tell you. Like
It was a
Ben.
apostle.
Yep, there it is. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter. @BewareTheBoard is where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you don't know about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover that you can reveal. So you can watch the movie before we do. So if you listen to the episodes, you don't get any spoilers or being really vague about stuff. You know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays, or whatever day an episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode on our Twitter. So if you ever missed an upload or want to know when something went up, there's always a link there. We make short form content for the show sometimes.
Yeah, totally. We do that.
I don't know when the last one I put up was, but I haven't made one in a hot minute. I've been very busy. But we do make short form content. Check us out at BewareTheBoard on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. Ben, I think that's it, man.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.